Yeah, I can't speak
I'm
Polish.
offbeat, but it's fine.
So I can't speak Polish, so I won't be singing the songs today. But I'll tell you the translated lyrics,
Yeah.
but they don't work in the song.
I'm excited either way.
We'll play some of the songs, so you
Yeah.
get a little clip, because I think they're really cool. But I don't know. Shall we get it? Shall we do it?
Yeah, do it to it, man.
Heck yes. Hi. We're going to be talking about The Lure, which is from 2015, and it is about, in Warsaw, a pair of mermaid sisters are adopted into a cabaret. While one seeks love with humans, the other hungers to dine on the human population of the city, and is directed by, I looked up how to say this, so I really hope I do a good job, Agnieszka Smoczyńska.
Nice.
I hope I did it. Because again, I don't speak Polish. So this film, very interesting. Like you said, takes on a lot of forms, and I'm going to do my best to analyze it in the way that we do. So one is silver, and the other is golden. The Lure is the mermaid monster Polish horror movie musical you didn't know you needed. I didn't know I needed. I'm so glad I have it. As I said before, I tried to explain this film to a few people since I've watched it, and I just fail to find the words. Like, I'm all over the place, even writing this. Like, I was like, what am I doing? It sounds like I'm making it up. Because it's just like, wait, what? There's this too, and that's happening? And it's like, yeah. All of that is true. There are many layers to this beautiful blue-tinted world that Smoczyńska creates. But on the surface is a tale of two types of women, the lover and the monster, pretty much, which I found very interesting and immediately was like, this movie is for me. I'm in love. It's genre-bending with, like, you know, because it is horror, there's a lot of grotesque things, but it's also like coming of age and like drama and romance. But it features folklore, puberty, 70s pop music, and incredible violence. Yeah. The idea actually started as a film about sisters who grew up in a nightclub scene, and it was based on the writer Robert Bolesto's friends whose parents worked in clubs, and so they grew up in club. So he was like, let's make this film about it. And after they were told the film was too personal, Agnieszka decided to weave in Hans Christian Andersen's tale of the Little Mermaid. And according to lore in Warsaw, there are two mermaid twin sisters. One that decided to swim off to Copenhagen, which is the Little Mermaid story that we know about, and the other found her way to the little village that would become Warsaw, and is featured as like a statue to commemorate her in the middle of their town, and all throughout Poland too are mermaid statues, because they value them as being creatures that saved them to some degree, and you know, protects them, because she's like in warrior garb. It's like pretty cool.
They're powerful.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's like to think the difference between like what happened to the sister and then this like warrior Warsaw mermaid is very interesting. And it's definitely like exactly what this film is trying to accomplish. As with most monstrous femme films, the lore explores what it means to be a girl, ultimately. The challenges that come with our growing bodies and their dichotomous nature, right? So you have the grotesque and the frightening, the powerful and alluring, the vulnerability and the you know, the just the pure power of all of that. It's like it's amazing. In an article on Vice titled "New Polish Cannibal Mermaid Musical" is a story about immigration and girlhood by Judy Berman. They interview Agnieszka about her influences and themes, and Agnieszka says, "It's a visualization of the initiation into womanhood. Growing up is brutal, especially as a girl. It's like death. You can treat the whole story as a metaphor for growing up. On the physical side, you have this mucus, you have this blood, you have this fishtail. The tail is something you want to hide, but it's something that defines your youth. When you want to be loved by a boy or by a human being, you lose yourself. You cut off your fishtail. And you conform." I will say that they're not cannibals because they're mermaids
Yeah.
not people.
Yep.
So they can't eat. They're not eating other mermaids.
Yeah.
So yeah. But they are like, I mean, they're eating people. So
Yeah.
that is happening. The film starts with these sirens in the ocean, and Silver is interested in a boy who's singing on a beach. And she and Golden sing back and make their way to the shore. And then next we see a club owner who is trying to investigate where a fishy smell is coming from in his place of business. And it leads him to discover the girls who are childlike and full of joy dancing in the back room, wearing just like a jacket, like someone's business suit jacket. They are immediately stripped and revealed to be like Barbies. Completely smooth down there.
Yeah.
Just nothing. You turn them around, nothing again.
Yeah.
Nothing for you to do. No genitalia. However, when you splash some water on them, their tails grow back. And on those tails, they have slits that men in this film just love touching.
Yep.
Yeah, I also vomited in my mouth a little.
Yeah.
Because it's gross.
Yeah.
The tails are really impressive and possibly my favorite part of the film. They're actually practical pieces. They're huge. They're so long. They're practical pieces that are operated by the actors using a foot pedal inside. So that they'll like kind of move like a little more naturally. But they're huge and it's kind of, it's like they're not doing a lot in there. But I thought that was really cool. And the actresses spent weeks alone with Agnieszka to work through their emotions and to operate the tails. They had to think of like, what is it like to be inhuman and to be a girl who's freshly in this man's world and to really become who they are, but also like how to be mermaids. Like, who are they?
Yeah.
What do they do? Golden and Silver communicate using an eerie dolphin chirping telekinesis kind of thing. And in their covert communications, Golden explains they're just visiting here before they make their way to America. She's like, this is just a pit stop, and then we're going to go. We're going to make our way out of here, make our way downtown. Swim in fast, because we don't walk. She also warns Silver not to fall in love with a man, lest he marry another and turn her into Seafoam. Which sounds very familiar. Because Golden's pretty much like, what if you fall in love with that dude that you keep looking at? And she's like, no.
Yeah, I won't.
Shut up. Did he say something, though? Like, did he mention me? Like, was he like that? Is that mermaid particularly hot? Or for any of us folklore nerds, that sounds an awful lot like Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid, who suffers a similar fate. Even worse in the folklore is that she becomes wind that must cool off men. And in one place I read, her sentence gets extended every time children are naughty. So she's just been winds catering to men for forever.
Yeah, that's wild.
I'd rather be Seafoam. I'd
Yeah.
rather be foam. With these two mermaids, we are given two distinct types of women. Silver, who wants to be human, who wants to belong here and to be loved by this boy. Like, so pure and simple. And then Golden, who loves who she is. She finds power in her fangs. They have these like really creepy teeth. And she sees humans as nothing more than a meal. She's like, we are evolutionarily advanced. You are a meal. You're not. This is just fun, but you actually mean nothing. I have an entire world under there that you don't know about.
Yeah.
This is just a pit stop, right, Silver? Right? We're leaving soon? What are you doing? It's like Silver, you poor thing. She has like this. So there's a scene where she's like in love, and she gives like a scale to the boy, and that's like commitment, right?
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that children's book I still can't remember the name of with the
little fish with the rainbow scales.
She kept giving her scales away, and then she ends up no scales. I was like, that's what happens. All those children's books are like, don't share. That's the moral.
But
like
also, you have to share everything.
Yeah, the giving tree, it's just like, don't share, you'll die. No one will appreciate you.
Yeah.
And Silver didn't read that book. I was immediately drawn to Golden. I was telling Kat, like, when we were, like, talking to each other during it, like, Golden is weird. She gets it, man, and I appreciate her being out here doing it. And I never really liked Disney's Little Mermaid particularly at all. I had, like, this whole... It just, like, aggravated me that there's this young girl, she's 14 in Disney, who is changing her entire everything and abandoning all the people who love her for this dude who also is super creepy and predatory in Disney, and that, like, she can't speak. She doesn't know how things work. Like,
yeah. Why is that attractive?
Yeah, like, you should be like, okay, we got it. Like, you're clearly, like, a child. Like, she is a child, but even still, like, even more so a child because she doesn't seem to get, like, normal things. Why is that attractive to you? You should just be like, I'm a big bro.
Yeah, like, I'm an adult. That seems a lot.
Yeah. In the story I read, the prince is, like, even worse to her, and he, like, makes her sleep on the edge of the bed.
Ew.
Yeah, like, he treats her like an animal. Anyway, I really hated it. And I had this, like, argument with my family once in, like, high school because of the real story where Ariel is Seafoam. She becomes Seafoam at the end, which is not what you get in the Disney story. And I remember them being like, you're reading too much into it. Like, this is just a Disney story. Like, why are you... Like, it's just a story. Why do you get so upset about it? And I was just like, wow, even then, I had my media analysis classes on. Like, even then, I was like, no, wait, hold on. You're not listening to what they're saying about it.
Yeah.
In that Vice article, Agnieszka and the author Berman explained that I was right in my feelings about the sisters. It says, Silver, the older one, it's much more sensitive. She wants to be a human being. Smotsniska, explains. Golden is the opposite. She wants to be a predator, and she wants to be who she already is. A wild girl who would never sacrifice her freedom to win the love of a human man. She is also a proud outsider with no intention of assimilating. Because in that article, and what I'll talk about in a little bit too, is that there is also a representation of, like, immigration and what it means to not want to assimilate and get rid of where you come from.
Yeah.
For no good reason. Like, why? This is a musical after all, so I want to also touch on some of the amazing tracks before going into more of the film and getting into Spoiler Town, because, like... I want to tell you what happens, and it is a bit of a spoiler, so I'd rather you watch it. But the music is really cool, and just like the film overall, the music is also genre bending. There's, like, 70s disco to, like, 80s rock and roll and, like, haunting siren singing. It's not disorienting like with Repo, the Genetic Opera. It feels natural and performative, like they are in a nightclub after all. So, like, it... You know, some of it's performed on stage, and then other times we have, like, you know, them walking through the house or, you know, performing outside as well.
Byłaś serca biciem, wiosną, zimą, życiem, wiosną, zimą, życiem, marzeń moich echem, winem, wiatrem, śmiechem.
There's this, like, opening number where the girls are brought to the mall and are transformed into real girls. Like, we'll give them clothes and we'll, like, make them do this thing. And it's definitely, like, the immigrant journey of, you know, doing it. And they have this song, and one of the lyrics is, "The city will tell us what it is we lack," which sounds prettier in Polish. But essentially they're just like, the whole song is like, you're going to tell us how to behave, you're going to tell us what is right and what is wrong and what is expected of us, and then we're going to do it. And then they go dizzy from performing and assimilating, and, like, kind of, that's like this
because it's
Kickstarter.
exhausting.
Yeah. My favorite song has Golden walking nude around their, like, dingy apartment that they share with the other performers, and it's titled "The Housefly Won." And she sings, "I am sad, you're sad, we're all gloomy as hell." It's like this, and I was like, this is the best song ever. Like, it's so true. And just like, oh, I'm sad and you're sad. And it comes back later, like, when things are all falling apart too, where, you know, it's very, like, it is a reprise of we're all gloomy as hell.
Yeah, like, no one here is happy.
Yeah, sad.
się coraz bardziej głodna. O ja smutna i ty smutny. On smutny, bo my smutni. I wy smutni, i oni smutni. Wszyscy smutni jak cholera.
All right, so I'm going to go into spoiler town for the rest of this. So please try to check out the film. We watched it on Apple TV. We had to rent it, or I don't know if you watched that.
I watched it on Apple TV as well.
Cool. So it's there. You have to rent it. It's also available on YouTube, I think, too. So definitely worth like $4 for sure. One, to support the artist, but also like you're gonna have a good time. There's a lot of graphic violence and like gore, and there are a lot of times that are uncomfortable. It's a lot, like these girls never wear shirts or bras, and they're very tiny. So it could also make you feel a little uncomfortable because these men are
look
definitely
young.
treating them like they're not 14, but they could very well be 14. Like they're not, but like, oof, they're very tiny. So spoiler town, enter. So you can pause, go watch the film, and do this, or you can listen and then still enjoy yourself. So Silver is in love with a boy, and he does seem to care for her too, but he won't be with her. Just flat out. There's a scene where Silver saunters into a bathroom and splashes water on herself to reveal her tail. And he's just like, no, thanks. And she offers, did you want me to be a girl? Like, did you want me to have the legs? And although that wouldn't work because she doesn't have stuff. But he tells her that he'll never see her as more than a fish, an animal. So she does the most logical thing and decides to swap out her tail for real girl legs. So she does the most logical thing and decides to swap out her tail for real girl legs.
As you would,
Areas. Alternately, Golden is living her best life. She's at punk shows and she's eating men who made the mistake of underestimating her, fancying her as a snack for themselves. And then she's in their car, and then next time you see her, she's got a heart in her mouth, and she's just slithering back to the ocean, and she's like, yeah, like what?
What do you expect?
She finds a fellow sea creature, presumably a merman, named Titan, who is lacking his horns. He says one was taken by a fisherman, the other he removed himself, and he also bears scars on his stomach that hint at a tail removal. And he's like, walking around. He warns Golden that if Silver loses her tail, she'll lose her voice as well, and if her love marries someone else, she will become Seafoam, which this whole time we've been told. In a really jarring and emotional scene that Agnieszka has said is like the most important scene in the whole film, Silver is laying on a bed of ice in a surgical room. Her large tail is spread long, and she looks like the catch of the day. She's a fish almost. Beside her in another vat of ice is a woman who is cut in half, like waist, she sings, and Golden is singing with her from home, essentially begging her not to go through with this, and she does. And as she sings, the surgeon cuts her center, blood splurts, and her voice is cut off. Later, she is flirting and showing off her new parts with her bow, only to try it a bit too soon, post-surgery. She, still has staples and stitches and is, currently in rehab trying to learn how to walk. That is not the time to be doing this. You need to take a little bit of time. You're rushing a little too quickly here is no bueno. This is literally not the time. It results in a bloody mess that grosses out Mitak, who is the person that she's in love with, and he storms off and immediately into a pleasant woman's arms who is a human and not a mermaid who will bleed on him.
Yeah.
And of course, he marries her.
Yeah.
Agnieszka also explains that the film is a story of immigrants and of the pain of assimilation, confirming Silver decides to become the model immigrant, sacrificing her autonomy, identity, and livelihood to gain acceptance in this new world. But even that isn't enough to make the bass player treat her like a human being. For Smochinska, the parallel to real immigrants' lives is clear. If you assimilate, you can lose yourself, and it will be very destructive to you. Mm-hmm. Super sad. For me, the tale reminded me of Lilith and Eve, which I mentioned in our She Never Dies episode, that, they are two types of women, an Eve and a Lilith. One is obedient, subordinate to men, and the other is a monster, rebellious and independent. Yeah. It's like you have well-behaved girls who fit into whatever, and the other ones who are dead monsters because they're like, I don't want to do traditional stuff. Right? Yeah. These are Adam from the Bible's first and second wives. Again, watch that episode if you want to learn more about that. I don't think Silver is any less of a woman for loving and falling for Mitiak, but she's just a young girl. She's impressionable and romantic, and I've definitely been there myself. Right? Yeah. I've definitely made some questionable decisions because I thought, that guy is going to like me or do the thing. Or the person that I was interested was going to do the thing, right? And that doesn't make you any less of a good woman to do that. It's just a different way to do it, right? So Magic marries this girl, and like the Little Mermaid, Silver is offered one more chance to survive. She must kill him before sunrise, or she will be made into Seafoam. It feels obvious what you should choose. After all, he's just a human, and as we often say on our show, humans are trash. Men humans, even more so oftentimes. But she doesn't. Instead, she has one last dance with him as the sun rises, leaving Golden to avenge her and return to the sea. It's super sad because she worked so hard. She did so much for this dude who, it dropped her so quickly, but you knew he was never about it. And they also, there's so many red flags. There's, a scene where you think that maybe they killed them. They, toss them over into the water, and they're wrapped up in rugs. The dude who she supposedly loves, the drummer, and then the lady who's been taking care of them, just right over the side. And then they come back and they bite him. But that's it. She runs right back into his arms he didn't do that to her. Girl.
Yeah, that was a big red flag where
Here's
it's
the
just
thing, men don't change. That's lesson number one. And she learned it really hard. And Golden too, and that she did try, and she warned her if you take out your tail, you're gonna lose your voice, and Silver's if you try to stop me, you'll never see me again. And it's okay, but convert on the other side, if you don't try to stop her, you also won't see her again.
Yeah,
but how are you supposed to know that, right? They just hoped that the guy
wouldn't suck.
Yeah, this is the reality in which he is not the worst, and he is, unfortunately. Yeah. Anderson wrote, Kristen Anderson wrote for the ending area of The Little Mermaid, he wrote, "Her tender feet felt as if they were pierced by daggers, but she did not feel it. Her heart suffered far greater pain. She knew that this was the last evening that she would ever see him for whom she had forsaken her home and family, for whom she had sacrificed her lovely voice and suffered such constant torment, while he knew nothing of all these things. It was the last night that she would breathe the same air with him, or look upon deep waters, or the star fields of the blue sky. A never-ending night, without thought and without dreams, awaited her, who had no soul and could not get one. The merrymaking lasted long after midnight, yet she laughed and danced on, despite the thought of death she carried in her heart." Sad. And then she did. She died, and her sisters are do you want to kill him? Because then you can come back. And then she's like, I can't. And then they're like, okay, well, now you can be wind.
Yeah.
That's the best offer I can do for you is your wind now. Super sad. That's pretty much what I have to say. I also think it's crazy they don't talk about it for Disney, obviously, because it's for kids, but
Yeah.
She's like in constant pain because like her like walking on her feet is like walking on knives. Like she's not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, it's not like she feels uncomfortable. She doesn't know.
Yeah. And this dude's just so rude.
The whole concept of the Little Mermaid is really stressful in that like she is a whole child and like she's like, I'm 16, I'm old enough, so ha. And then the dad's like, sweetie, no, you're not. And like, I have every right to be mad and like keep you from this situation because you're a child and I am an adult. And the whole situation is just wild. Especially like you said, he made her sleep on the side of the bed.
He
like,
slept on the bottom of her bed because he saw her as an animal. In the story, it's like even more absurd that she thought that he would love her.
Yeah.
Because like he really, really didn't care. At least with me, like he did care for her, but he was like he was honest. Like believe people when they tell you things like about themselves. He was like, you're always going to be an animal. And that's kind of how it is. Like, he tells her that, and then she's like, okay, I'm going to give you this scale and pledge my love to you.
Yeah. No,
like, what definitely... in the Twilight Saga? Like, what are you doing, hon?
And I mean, even the Disney end, it's like, she doesn't have a voice. Like, why is that? It was just a very clear message from Disney that when I was a child, that they didn't want women who spoke. Mm-hmm. That, like...
I mean, often taking, like, a character's voice is just, like, that often happens to female characters and making them, like, nonverbal. But it's just, like, why does that... It's not even just, like, that we want to take your voice and that you're nonverbal. But, like, she also just didn't understand things. Like, she really was, like, very clearly...
A whole child.
Yeah. And even if you're thinking of, like, as an immigrant, like, maybe you don't... Like, maybe to that degree you don't... speak in that you don't speak the same language and that you still like you have to compensate for the fact that you're learning how things operate here, but it's like that's like you still have to be conscious of that and be working to like help. And I feel like Prince whatever Eric or whatever never helped her. He was just like, it's funny, she doesn't know stuff, and it's cute that she's 14. It's
also like I guess different in that like you lived a life before, like if you're an immigrant, you lived a life before and are capable of doing like things. You're learning how the world works in the new place, but like you know how to take care of yourself for the most part. Like you know how to do stuff. It's not childlike. It's manifestation.
It's not as like predatory. As it is with the Little Mermaid, because I've always been like, she is so young, like it's not cute. Like the songs, great songs, love them.
The songs
classic,
are fun.
You know, but yeah, you know, I don't even blame like Ursula because she's like, why you want to do that?
Yeah, it seems dumb.
You're an idiot, so I'll take advantage of this. Like she's like, they're gonna take advantage of you too, so
yeah, like why not at this point?
Okay, you're royalty, so we eat the rich.
Eat the rich. So you're gonna go do this now, and I get your soul. Yay, yum.